Welcome, Alabama fans, to the BOL Breaking Podcast. This is our first with just me and Andrew Bone. Um, we're bringing you not live, but right as it happens, Alabama has landed a huge commitment when Alabama fans have been waiting for quite some time. Andrew, AK Deer, commitment. We had him predicted in 2022, I feel like, but he finally actually made a commitment. Let's go over AK Deer from Mississippi, Quitman, Mississippi, number 2 overall running back in the country, 6 foot and change, 200 plus pounds. Tell us what you like about AK.
Well, I like that he went ahead and made a decision this month. So
Hey,
he didn't stretch it
absolutely.
out any longer because everybody was all worried for a while that he wasn't going to commit to Alabama and stretch it out all the way through the season. But this was a big win for the Crimson Tide going into Mississippi, getting another great player, one of the top three players in Magnolia State in this cycle. Great year in Mississippi, and now they have three Mississippi players in its class, including Caleb Cunningham, London Simmons, now AK Deer. So getting AK Deer on board, huge for Alabama, especially at the running back position, an area that they have, I guess since they have arrived, they haven't landed a commitment. Now they do have Turbo Rogers, who's been committed since last summer, June 2023. But now they get kind of the guy that they've recruited since this staff arrived. But even before then, Robert Gillespie's recruited AK for a very long time. He's been a top target for the Tide. Even when Nick Saban was the head coach at Alabama, and Coach DeBoer, you look back, Coach DeBoer went and saw him that first week on the recruiting trail. So it was about, I think it was about 9 days after Coach DeBoer was hired as the head coach. He went out on the trail for the first time. One of the first stops was in Mississippi to see AK Deer. So huge win for Alabama, getting the number 2 running back in the country.
Yeah, and you made a great point because this is a new staff, and we've touched on this. It's a new staff, but Robert Gillespie's not new to the staff. He's been recruiting AK Deer. He's from Mississippi. Coach G, as the kids call him, is from Mississippi. Got Daniel Hill, the running back last year from Mississippi. So he's known AK for some time, and AK was a frequent visitor before Kalen DeBoer, Nick Sheridan, and everybody came on board. But they did make him a priority. They got him here in March. Pretty quick turnaround and got him for an official visit back in June. Now, along the way, he committed to Ole Miss, and even when we had our prediction for him to flip to Bama, he was still committed. AK's just moved at his own pace, and not everyone appreciated it. But hey, me and Andrew did this long enough. Commit when you're ready. Don't commit before you're ready. That causes a lot of problems. Take your time. But we were probably expecting this a little bit earlier because Alabama had that flurry starting in early June with Keelan Russell, and then it just stayed on a heater all the way through Ty Haywood and Caleb Cunningham. And I think a lot of people associated Caleb and AK together, even though two different schools, two different positions, two different people, obviously friends. But I think that partly led to us thinking that was going to happen quicker because, middle of July, Caleb had already committed.
I think there's probably a lot of Twitter insiders who probably lost followers over the month because they kept saying it was AK Deer Day every single day
Yeah.
for about a month because everyone just kept thinking he was going to commit. But like I said, he was moving at his own pace. He never came out and said he was going to commit on a certain day. And usually, and to be fair, when you and I put in a prediction, it usually happens pretty quickly after that. So it took a little bit longer, but we
We're
never said.
anticipating it. We're anticipating it happening for
Hey,
sure.
at least at least we sort of got it right because we made that prediction on the 25th of June, and then he decommitted from Ole Miss 3 days later. So we were sort of in the ballpark. And it just took about a month and a half later for him to reveal that decision. But hey,
It felt like a long time for us. I mean, we don't want to do it. We don't want to do it too early because I mean, they literally thought something was wrong, but AK never set
right.
a date. He never said I'm committing on this date. And when he finally did, I mean, the one thing that did it is it ended every rumor of Hayes Fawcett, our own on 3, saying big news coming tonight, and everybody's wondering if it was AK. So we now knew the date, made everybody relax. But again, what you're getting in with this kid is a big time prospect. I mean, just physically how he looks, his film, he's a home run threat. He's going to be physical, able to block. He brings a lot. And if you also look at what the past two classes have brought in, Again, Kevin Riley, Daniel Hill were two big gets last year, especially on the heels of Richard Young, who's looking like the most impressive physical specimen on campus right now, too, every time you see him. And then, of course, Justice Haynes. So stockpiling some guys, some talent to get there. And, how this affects Turbo Rogers in the future, I think we need to address that a little bit, because the thing is, he committed to the Alabama staff, Nick Saban staff, after an unbelievable sophomore year. But then he went to IMG. IMG doesn't really, they share the touches. A lot of your chances are limited. So this staff really hasn't had a chance to see him since his sophomore year. But he's back in state, and I think people are going to be watching him closely this year.
Yeah, and with AK Deer, I mean, this is a guy that had over 2,000 yards rushing during his junior season, and had over 27 had 27 touchdowns. So, I certainly think that this is a guy that, hey, buddy, how's it going? Hey, welcome to the show. Here, go find your mom. Go find your mom. Oh my gosh. God. Hey, you good? All right, we'll see you later. All right, good luck.
AK's obviously one of the best running backs in the South.
And so my son was certainly excited to see the news of
Andrew's had him locked in the closet till he committed. So right. His son just broke. He finally turned him loose. So little E is extremely excited that he can come out and play again.
That's right. So back to my original thought. So but I mean, you look back at Turbo Rogers, the early commitment there. He's taken some visits. During the summer, went to Ohio State, went to Georgia. Hasn't been back to Tuscaloosa as much as we were kind of expecting him to be, but there's going to be a lot of eyes on him this fall. How's he going to perform at Carver High School, being back in his hometown? Going to have a great chance to have a big season, because that Carver team is absolutely loaded. And for those who love viral videos, you saw the Vestavia Hills head coach a few weeks ago say something about, this kid's got an Alabama offer, or this kid's going to Alabama, this kid's going to Texas A&M, this kid's going to this kid's got 20 offers, but our kids are either going to be pie caps or Fijis. Well, he was talking about Carver High School, which has an Alabama running back commitment, Turbo Rogers, that they're going to have to try to tackle. So be interesting to see kind of what happens with Turbo over the course of these next few months, especially with some fall visits coming up.
Yeah, and I think Alabama fans, this can create a little momentum, because they had such a run. Again, Keelan Russell to Ty Haywood and Caleb Cunningham on back-to-back days was just one of the most impressive runs we've ever seen. Him moved them up, vaulted them to #1 recruiting class in the country. Even with three, that's how good this class was. Even with 3 decommitments, they're still #2. You're going to see how AK changes that and what goes into that. But it was a long time, actually, between commitments. And that's kind of what happens, though, when you get 23. And y'all can blame Andrew. He's talked up 20-plus by that time. We'd have been fine with 12 and some trickling out, in my opinion. But that's what happens. You're going to have long lulls there. When you fill your class, when you're basically out of spots, the only news you're going to get is usually bad news, right? I mean, there's not a whole lot of good news left. But this is a big void. Not a big addition. It's not a void. It's a big addition, because now you're looking at impact. You can pick every position on the offensive side of the football. And Kalen DeBoer is an offensive-minded guy. You can pick interior, exterior offensive line, tight end, wide receiver, running back, quarterback, and they've got an impact guy. This is a guy talented enough to come in and compete, not necessarily start, but compete for playing time as freshman. And I think Deer falls into that category with the other guys.
I think about 4 months ago, we were talking about, more so about Alabama's defensive recruiting than offensive recruiting.
We were.
And then it just completely changed kind of once we got into June with with Keelan Russell announcing that commitment on June the 3rd. And then it was just a humongous wave of talent that committed to the Tide. And now, not only does Alabama have a top 2 recruiting class in the country, I think they've got the best offensive class in the country without a doubt, because you look at Keelan Russell, 5-star quarterback, AK Deer, top 2 running back, wide receivers. You have Caleb Cunningham, who's a 5-star. You have Latzir Brooks, who's in the top 100. Offensive line, you've got 3 guys that are in the top 26 overall players in the country. So, and then you have Caleb Edwards, who's the number 6 tight end in the country. I mean, that is as good of an offensive class as you can possibly get for Coach DeBoer in the first 7 months of him being in Tuscaloosa. I mean, just a remarkable job by this offensive staff. Now you got to go out and perform on the field this fall, but just a tremendous effort that we've seen from these guys, and it's that entire offensive staff. It's not just Kalen DeBoer. It's Nick Sheridan. It's Coach Cap. It's Courtney Morgan, who also helps on the offensive line, but he helps with it. Let's be honest. Shep,
yeah, Shep,
one of the most energetic coaches that we have seen, and you start hearing from different guys how great a relationship they've built with Coach Shep throughout this process. So, got to give a lot of credit.
Gillespie, there's no doubt how good Gillespie.
I mean, that's a guy that helped keep a lot of not just running backs in Tuscaloosa after the coaching change. Him and Freddie Roach were really helping with the entire team, trying to keep that entire team together. During that coaching transition. So, props to them, and I think they've done a tremendous job.
I mean, you got to get it to the finish line, but I'm not sure there's a lot you can complain about on the offensive side of the ball. I know that the buildup, at one point, but they've hit on their numbers. They wanted 4 to 5 offensive linemen, they did it. They wanted 1, possibly 2 tight ends. If they were, 2 polar opposite tight ends, you get the inline guy and then the receiving guy, they would have taken another one. But they've hit on all those little angles they have. And again, we're going to talk about this. There's still a senior season yet left to evaluate guys and guys to raise their stock. But when you come to evaluate, and I think the staff knows what it's looking for, I think they do a good job. I think you go back to Lightzeer Brooks and Keelan Russell, who were 2 3-stars. Not a lot of people were super excited. Even after Keelan committed, there was people still saying, well, it was an SMU commitment. Well, he could pretty much be a commitment almost anywhere. Okay, right. Almost anywhere. Again, props to the SMU staff for figuring that out. But Alabama also dug in there and did that. So again, just to the swings of this recruiting class, where at one point I think Alabama fans thought there was 37 inside linebacker commitments and nobody else. And then we swing to almost a heavy defensive staff, defensive class. Then we saw the offensive class run that's pretty complete. Now, they're still looking, what are we thinking? Defensive lineman, a safety or 2, portal could come into play, finishing off what you got. So they're heading into the season in the position they want to be, and they know they have to battle.
And the biggest question, I think going into the season and over these next few months, it's going to be interesting to kind of see, is there another offensive guy that they decide to take, because they've pretty much filled needs at every single position on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, obviously they're not going to recruit any more quarterbacks. I think they're pretty set at running back, tight end. I think that's an area where they could potentially go after at least one more guy. I think they're looking around, seeing who else is available. Marshall Pritchett, who's committed to UNC, took a visit to Alabama this summer. That's a guy that we might see back in Tuscaloosa at some point. Obviously, their offensive line class is done. Wide receiver class seems pretty complete. So, the commitment of AK Deer, I mean, that could potentially, be it for the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, you got to continue to recruit those all the way until the finish line and make sure they sign on December the 4th. But if this is going to be your class, you got to be pretty stoked about it.
Yeah, I think that's it. That's final thoughts here would be that this class, they've answered a lot of questions. We knew there were going to be hiccups, and I don't know why. I think people forget. I think recruiting cycle is traumatic for some, and they forget. Last night I was discussing with several people, double digits, that they don't remember this type of drama in last year's class. And I was like, are you friggin' kidding me? Where the hell were y'all for Perry Thompson and Ryan Williams? I promise you, us that work it remember the drama. Like, are you kidding me? And the year before, Caleb Downs it's every year, it's every class. There's drama. And then when it's gone, you just try to push it away, and then you start worrying about the next class. But I'm not sure you could ask for a better start to Kalen DeBoer and his recruiting efforts heading into his first season at Tuscaloosa. Andrew, get us out of here.
Yeah, no doubt. Big win today for Alabama, getting AK Deer. Really excited about this upcoming season. Kind of see what's going to happen as far as kids coming in to visit. Potentially new offers that get extended, and obviously the recruiting board is going to move up and down, and we're obviously going to start watching a little bit more of these 26 and 27 guys, see who might move up or down the recruiting board for Alabama. But go check us out, BamaOnLine.com. Come talk to us directly today on the BOL message board, the BOL Roundtable. So we'll be over there chatting all day, all night. So come check us out, and thank you guys for watching our recruiting show today.
All right, we'll see y'all soon. Thanks for being here.